Okay, so I am here making a kale salad. By popular demand, I've been asked to show the recipe or share the recipe, but the only way I can share the recipe is through a demonstration. We're having a problem with their fire alarm today, so hopefully that'll end. So what I did was I put in some organic tahini. Kind of made a mess here. So can you see that okay? Organic tahini. You can use sunflower butter, which is what I've used here. You can also, instead of using sunflower butter, use an almond butter. I've already put that in, and I've actually put in like 2 dollops. So this is what I consider a dollop. This is 1 dollop of each. So 1 dollop of sunflower butter and 2 dollops of sunflower butter for this much kale. You'll see how much kale I'm going to put inside. And then 1 or 2 dollops of the tahini. I've put some olive oil in there, and you can see how much olive oil I've put in. And we're going to go by feel, so I'm not going to give you the exact measurements. I won't be able to give you the exact measurements actually. We're going to go a little bit by feel. I've also put in some balsamic vinegar. This is the balsamic vinegar that I use right here. It's actually an organic, very nice Greek balsamic vinegar. And I'd say maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of that, depending on your taste. And then the same here, I'm using some maple syrup. Everything that we're using here is organic. So you can just see I'm just going to put some maple syrup in here. That's probably a tablespoon. Again, according to your taste, a tablespoon is probably a good amount. You can put more, it won't hurt. Let's just do a little bit more, like that. Okay, that's that. Add some pepper. Be very generous with the pepper. There you go. And I've already added some sea salt. So the sea salt is actually in my own jar, but you can see how coarse it is. So we add a little bit here, maybe let's just say a teaspoon right now. And again, you can go according to your taste. And then we'll add some later as we do it, when we put the kale in. I'll show you when we do that. Okay, so I'm going to do garlic in 2 ways. The first way I'm going to do it is raw garlic, and I'm just going to crush it up, remove the peel here, like this. And just put that in there. Crush up the garlic. The reason why you crush up the garlic is because you want the cell walls of the garlic to crack. Oops, I should have done both of them at the same time. That's fine. Let's do the second one. I like to be a little generous on the garlic. Some people like a little bit, but these days with the food tasting blander and blander, I'm finding that you have to add in more of the ingredients than otherwise called for. So just do that. Put the garlic in like that. Okay, before I mix it up, I've got one more ingredient over here. This is a frozen lemon. And I'm just going to actually grate it. I just used this, so it's clean. I'm just going to grate it like this. And the reason why I do it this way instead of squeezing a fresh lemon out, you can do that, that's not a problem, is because I like the zest of the peel also going in at the same time. So you get actually the best of both worlds. So you can be actually fairly generous with this. If you're squeezing it, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. I would start off with 1 tablespoon. You can see that I'm going This is probably shavings of possibly 2 tablespoons. Even if you get like a big piece in like this, it's okay. Just throw it in like that. The lucky person that gets that will get a nice mouthful of zesty flavor, which is actually one of the beauties of making a salad like this. You get this burst of flavor. Okay, so just put that in, and I'll just show this to you. Oh, it's not there yet. And here's a quick view of what that looks like. Okay, so I'm done with some of the pre-ingredients. So just gonna do that, just kind of stir it up a little bit. Let's see if I can show it to you this way. Oh, it's got some lemon, some garlic in here. Stir it up, and you want to stir it. You don't want to emulsify it. You want to stir it slowly. You want it to mix up. You want to kind of see how much it comes out to. So this looks like it's kind of low. So what I'm going to do, and it's fairly liquidy, so I'm not going to. I don't need to thin the liquid out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some more olive oil, and I'm using a Tunisian olive oil, as you can see here, and it's completely organic. Every ingredient again is organic, and I'm being very generous with this. And again, I did put olive oil in before. I'm just adding in to give a little bit more liquid. Now the other thing that I added in also was organic apple cider vinegar. That's this brand. Does it say it has mother? Yeah, it has mother. It's organic. You shake it up a little bit so that mother goes, and you add this in. Again, that's the second time I'm doing it. I would add in probably 3 times that amount, and you can see the consistency that we're getting here. Okay, and the olive oil is, you don't want to again emulsify the olive oil inside here. You want to, I don't think you can see that, but the olive oil is a little over, which is exactly the way you want it. And you can see that it's somewhat liquidy, not too thick. You don't want it to be too thick because then it won't coat the kale. You want it to be kind of liquidy. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, I think that's enough. We're going to start adding the kale in. So this kale is already pre-washed, and I'm just going to rip it off and add it in this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. Maybe I'll just keep going for anybody who wants a long video. Like that. Just rip these off and just fill this up as much as possible. Now what happens is, because kale is so rough and uneven with these leaves, it looks like it fills up really quickly, but it's all air. It's just sitting on top. So we want to press it down a little bit. I'm making a kale salad. This is probably enough for, it's hard to tell. It depends on how you eat it. If you want to eat a full meal, probably 3 or 4 people can get a full meal out of this. You can probably get 10 to 12 people getting some portion of the kale salad, enough for them to have it on the side. That's about how much kale we're going to make here. So I went in from the grocery store. We're looking at almost 2 bunches. Not quite 2 bunches, but almost 2 bunches, like 1.5 bunches. But they seem to vary when you buy them at the store. So keep going on this. Let's wring that out. Keep pressing it. Press it down. Now the other thing about kale is that you want to pre-make this. Kale is very difficult to digest by the stomach, by the human digestive system. And so you want to make this, and you want it to sit around for at least 2 hours. You could steam the kale, but it really changes the constitution of the kale, and it doesn't taste as good when it's steamed. So I like it raw, and I like it to sit in the dressing for at least 2 hours, ideally. You can go longer, you can go up to 4 hours. if you want, without any issues. I've actually gone overnight. If you're going to go overnight, or if you're going to go longer than 4 hours, then you definitely want to put it in the fridge. You can go overnight 1 day. If you go 2 days, and if you have fruit in the salad, then the fruit could go bad. So you probably don't want to do that. But you could leave the kale in for 1 or 2 days in the fridge without a problem, and it'll break down nicely. So the reason why kale is difficult to digest is because the leaves are very tough, and so you want to break down the cells. Our body finds it difficult to break down the cells of the kale inside our stomachs or our digestive system. So I'm just doing this. Yep. And what I'm going to do now, I vary my fruit. Sometimes you can add fruit if you want, or sometimes you can add different types of vegetables. I like fruit, so what I've got here are some strawberries. I've got some apples. Because I'm adding an apple, I'm actually not going to add in an avocado. Gives it that green flavor, so I'm going to put this in, cut the apples up like this. And the reason I'm doing it now is because I want, when I mix it, I want the apples to get coated with the dressing. So all the ingredients go in that you want mixed in before you mix it. Because once you mix the kale, it's going to be hard to get the dressing. Once the leaves all get coated, it'll be hard to get anything new coated again. And so I add in all the ingredients that I want to be coated, and then all the ingredients that I don't want to be coated, like the strawberries, I'll add in after I do the mixing. And the reason why is I want the strawberries to kind of stand out because they look fantastic in the salad. So I'm just going to mix it now. And you know, from a presentation standpoint, it looks very pleasant. So I'm just going to mix it here, as you can see. Maybe what I'll do is I'll turn this around. It's hard to mix. This is the part that I find a little challenging. So just turn it around and see if this works better for you. I'm right-handed fork person. Change that fork around like that. Okay, see it's falling out. This is the hardest part to do. And you can't even use one of those spin mixers here because the dressing is so thick, it's just not going to mix properly. So it's a manual effort. Here you go. Keep mixing it. And you want to get it from the bottom. Coat it. This is a little bit of an effort. So I just want to show you how full it looks. From this bowl it looks, you know, relatively full. I've still got a couple. It looks like I didn't use all of them. I think I'll just leave it like that. But what happens is once it gets coated, the kale begins to settle down because it starts getting broken down. And so it looks less because the kale starts to wilt under the, which is exactly what you want. You want it to break down and you want it to wilt. And so you want to make sure that you're generous with it, but you also have to. So for some reason it stopped, and we're going to restart it up again. So we're mixing it like that. Get it all well coated. Now, before it fully mixes, this is when I come in, and this is actually a little bit of a trick. I add in a little bit more salt. The reason why I do that is the previous salt that I added has melted away, has dissolved away inside the kale. Inside the dressing. So now when I add the salt in, it won't have an opportunity to dissolve away. I know it could end up being more, but actually you don't feel it. You can even err on a little bit more salt, and it'll taste really good. Or better yet, you keep the salt on the side and let people add it in at their own will. As long as the salt is a Himalayan salt or a coarse sea salt that's comes from a clean ocean, it's actually quite healthy for you because it has all those great minerals that your body needs. Kale salad also has a lot of the minerals. A good organically grown kale salad, preferably biodynamically or permaculture grown, is going to have a great protein profile, and so you don't need an extra protein to be present or included with the kale. Okay, so this is mixing really nicely. I don't think I got everything from the bottom, but you can see how beautiful it's looking. It's looking like it's very well coated, and we'll have an opportunity to mix this again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in it's pretty much done. Now we're just going to add in this. Some people don't like fruit. Some people like fruit. I like the kale to be kind of sweeter because it's I don't know if tart is the right way of saying it, but kind of tartish maybe. So add this in. It gives a nice contrast to the taste with the saltiness, sweet, salty. It's perfect. And then you can be generous with the pepper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to round it out, and I'll show that in a bit, with another fruit, which is probably overdoing it, but I just want to show you what the possibilities are in terms of ingredients, and then you can use that as a guideline about what with what you want to put in. I've got these figs right here, organic figs from Turkey, and some more garlic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in a bowl or a plate that can go in the oven or a toaster oven. I'm going to slice these up, which I'll show you, slice everything up, and then put a little bit of olive oil, coat them with olive oil a little bit, and maybe balsamic vinegar. Sorry, not balsamic vinegar. Yeah, I could use balsamic vinegar or maple syrup, and then brown them. And then it'll spray them on top here, and I'll show that to you in a bit. Okay, so this is done. We're just going to, again, mix the pepper and strawberries with that contrasting flavor, and that's what's important here. This is why it's very difficult to describe this in writing. You kind of have to show it. If the kale isn't looking coated enough, you can always add olive oil on top. Again, you can be as generous as you want, as long as you're eating well. More fats in your diet, then you can be as generous as you want with the healthy fats, like olive oil and coconut oil. Although we don't use coconut oil here. Okay, so just put this away. I love to keep my station clean. I know this place looks like a complete disaster zone at the moment, which is not my style. And we will return back in a second. Okay, we're back, and just a couple of things, one more minute of rounding this out. So what I've done, oops, turn this thing off. Okay, so what I've done is I've baked some garlic and some figs and kind of browned them, blackened them, if you will. And I'm just going to put this on top here. What I've done is I've also sprayed some microgreens on top here and some goat cheese. Goat cheese and kale salad and strawberries just go phenomenally well. Another substitute for apple, or let's say you don't use apple, you can throw that's olive oil. Put the olive oil on that. Is avocado. And I highly recommend avocado. It's just an amazing. So this actually turns into a fairly substantial meal. Okay, and with that, enjoy.